How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame, and we are back with another FPL deadline-ish stream. We are live. We're ahead of the game week. What game week is it? 31? Is it 31? I'm pretty sure it's 31. Deadline stream. We're going to be taking a look at how we did in game week 30. So game week after the big double game week in 29. We're going to look ahead as well to game week 32 a little bit. Keep our eye on that because that is going to be some blank game weeks for some teams. And it's going to be what are we going to do around that. I'm personally going to be on free hit, so we might do like a little bit of a kind of a mock-up free hit team as well. We'll take questions as we normally do. We'll also take a look at how we did for our predictions and what our predictions are for this week. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Also, big shout out to Manov. I think it's under Manov13. Thank you for following while we were offline. So, we're doing the stream a bit early today. Because I've had time to do it. So, yeah. Stream a little bit early today, which means the VOD will go up earlier on YouTube as well. So if you're watching this, we do these streams over on Twitch. So make sure to come check them out. We do them, and you can get live, basically answers and questions and that sort of stuff. And I kind of watch all the Premier League games, so I kind of pay attention to a lot of different things. That doesn't always necessarily translate to FPL though, which isn't great. But we did very good last season. Not doing as great this season, although there are more players, so kind of swings and roundabouts. Like, if it was 10 seasons ago and you were in the top 10k, it was like the best finish ever. Now, if you're in the top 10k, it's like the craziest ever finish because there's so much more players. So, yeah, I mean, ultimately, we're all trying to win FPL as well, and anything else is kind of just whatever you set your goals to. Mine, personally, is top 100k. Not sure if we can get that, but we're going to try. We're definitely going to try. And when you think about it, top million means you're in the top 10% of the world, something like that. Top 100k is like top 1%. Top 10k is like top 0.1%, whereas before it used to be like top 10k was like top 1% or something like that. So it's definitely drastically changed. Anyway, moving on. Let's talk about how the team did. A slight green arrow, the smallest of green arrows. I think we went up like only a few thousand places. And we would have gone up more had Salah not missed that second penalty. It's basically he's lost 2 points in the grand scheme of things when he could have gained those 2 points back, plus got the 5 points for the goal, plus potentially gotten 3 bonus points. So that would have been a lot more. We were only thinking like one ahead of our safety score on livefpl.net, which is a website you can use to check your basically where you stand as the game week goes on, and kind of gives you immediate updates for that. But let's run through the team, and then we'll go through how the results went and that sort of stuff, and how our predictions and differential picks went. So, De Gea in goal. We definitely picked the correct goalkeeper this week. 6 points versus Kepa's 3. Just felt De Gea had the better fixture. Ended up being a better fixture for De Gea. Him getting 6 points. Kepa still respectable with 3 points. For this game week. Our back line, though, not great on all fronts. Trippier, Botman, and Estupinian, 2, 1, and 1. Rico Henry with a very fortunate assist on one of Tony's penalties, which was the one he actually ended up scoring. Tony also getting 2 penalties, missed 1, scored 1 as well. But Rico Henry, yeah, a bit unfortunate. Played Estupinian, went with kind of the one solid better defense in my opinion in Newcastle's defense. Didn't pan out that way. Both teams did end up conceding, but Rico Henry would have been better to play than Botman, which I initially had because I was like, well, he's a fullback and that sort of stuff, but I was like, oh, I'll just go with the better defense and try not to split it there, but didn't end up working out. Midfield, bit disappointing overall. Madison with just 2 points. Bruno Fernandes, no returns. Batoma, no returns either. Salah could have had a lot, but ended up becoming away with not so much. And then Rashford getting just an assist, but also being injured in the process. And that is something we have to keep an eye on. Manchester United have a whole field of injuries. It was also announced just about, I think it was about an hour ago, maybe less than that. Lisandro Martinez, who's been massive for Man United, is now ruled out for the season. Varane's going to be out for apparently a few weeks. We would assume that's around 3 weeks. Which would take us to past the double game week, maybe. We'll see. It'll take us past the FA Cup semi-final, and we'll talk about that as well, because that has implications in the blank game week, obviously, because that's the reason why they're blanking, is because of the FA Cup semi-final participants. Watkins, 7 points, and then our transfer in was Erling Haaland for Ivan Toney. Captain, 24 points, fantastic. It was the 1 week where I could actually cheer on Haaland getting points, because I think he was only like 120% rather than his usual 190 billion%. So yeah, we were very happy with that one. So overall, excuse me, bit tired today. Been playing a lot of golf over the past couple of days, so it does tire you out, funnily enough, when you're out in the sun. But, yeah, the yawns will come. Maybe I just need to drink more water, because usually I yawn anyway. At least once on the deadline stream, just from talking too much. Back to the FPL chat. And then on the bench, just the Ferguson 1 point, Ben Mee 1 point, and as we mentioned, Rico Henry's 5 points. So overall, a good game week to get by with a very small green arrow, I would say. Moving on to how our predictions went. I think we did, like, weirdly well on some games and then not so well on everything else. So we'll have to see how that is if I just bring up the notepad here. So here is the notepad. Did I put it on? Did I get the correct predictions? Oh, no, those are my predictions. Whoops. Little sneak preview there. We want the tweet, not the notepad. Let me just readjust this so we can see this a little bit here. There we go. So, Man United 2, Everton 0. Got it bang on. Pretty good, huh? So we get 3 points for that if you get an exact score. Had I not predicted that, but I still predicted United win, I get 1 point, and then anything else is a no-go. Aston Villa, 3 points. 2 back-to-back correct scores, 2-2 nils. Aston Villa probably could have scored more. United should have definitely scored more. Paid more attention in that game, being a United fan. But yeah, was very, very fortunate on those 2 goals there. Brentford Newcastle. Initially, Brentford were playing quite well. They got the goal. They could have potentially had way more. Tony could have scored both penalties. They also had a goal ruled out as well, which was a Tony goal as well. And then Newcastle just slowly got themselves back into the game and then ended up winning 2-1. I thought it was going to be a draw, but late goal, or a goal later on in the game, which allowed them to get back into it. Isak coming on and scoring. Good for the Newcastle fans. But not good for my prediction, so we got that one wrong. Same with Fulham and West Ham. Fulham potentially could have had, some chances where they thought they might have done better. West Ham ultimately keeping a clean sheet, 1-0 on the scoreboard, which means no points for us. Leicester Bournemouth. I don't think anyone predicted Bournemouth to have beaten Leicester. We would have thought, okay, this is a game where Leicester are at home. They're up against Bournemouth. They know they can just beat them comfortably. They have the players to do so. And then James Maddison gets an assist, just not for the right player. And Bournemouth end up winning the game 1-0. So wrong there again. Brighton 2-1. I should have got this correct. But unfortunately, the officials managing VAR in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, I think Az said it best on FPL Black Box, and shout out to him, as well as Luke and Mark over on FPL Black Box. Make sure you go check that out. I watched it earlier today. He said, at best, it's incompetence. At worst, it's corruption. And I 100% agree, because there were like 4 things. There was the Matoma handball, which isn't a handball because it hits him above the mark, like his sleeve. No part of it, to me at least, looks like it hits below like the joint of his arm, basically. The foul on Matoma from Højbjerg is stonewall, 100% a penalty, guaranteed. The McAllister one, you can say it's the way the rule's written, fine, fair enough. If the ball goes in off somebody's hand and then it goes in the back of the net, it has to be ruled out. Doesn't matter if it's in their body or not, it has to be ruled out, so that one's fine. And then there was one other one where like somebody else had a goal ruled out, or it could have been another penalty. Lewis Dunk could have been a penalty as well. I mean, players get away with that all the time, but that one was a bit more like, hey, look, this should definitely be a penalty. And yeah, it was a bit of a farce, to be honest. So yeah, unfortunately, Brighton lost that one. Even James from Planet FPL, big Spurs fan, goes to all the games. He was like, he goes, what? He goes, yeah, different angles because of based on where he was in the ground, because where he sits. But looking at the replays, he's like, yeah, Brighton definitely should not have lost the game. The officials messed up, 100%. So, which is a bit interesting. Wolves versus Chelsea. Did not expect Wolves to keep a clean sheet in this one. I thought Chelsea would get at least 1 goal, which is why I kind of was like, I'll go for a draw. But Frank Lampard not starting off well again at Chelsea. It's almost like he's not really fit out for the job, to be honest. He's just going off a name brand, which is kind of like what Steven Gerrard did. You got to do what other managers have done. They go down in the lower leagues, they prove themselves, and they bring their team up. Thomas Frank is a good example. He's gone down to the Championship. He's brought Brentford up, and he's doing well with them in the Premier League. Not just chucked straight into a job after just managing like 1 season in the Championship like Lampard was. Or it was like 2 seasons with like Derby, but like didn't really progress with them. I mean, yes, he kind of helped the Chelsea talents like Mason Mount and the like, but I just think it's a stopgap. I mean, they got smashed by Real Madrid, even though it was only 2-0. Not really sure what Lampard's going to do this week, but if he does rest a bunch of players, hoping that he's going to get a result at home versus Real Madrid, I highly doubt that. It's going to be an interesting one, though. So we got that one wrong, too. So we're not doing too hot on the actual predictions. Man City 4-1 over Southampton, so we finally get our another point. We predicted 3-0, same margin. Crystal Palace versus Leeds. I expected there to be goals in it, just not for one team. So yeah, didn't get that one right either. Crystal Palace absolutely slaughtering Leeds after the first 30 minutes, getting themselves 5 goals. Which is something you probably wouldn't expect from a Roy Hodgson team, in all honesty. Liverpool and Arsenal, the last most hyped game of the week. I was going to predict a 2-2, but I said, nah, Arsenal probably end up nicking it. So I went with 3-2. Should have went with my mind, and end up being 2-2. Liverpool getting the late goal through Firmino. That was wrong. So overall, that's a big 7. Just the 7 points, unfortunately. Clean sheet for Aston Villa. We got that one correct. Ederson did not keep a clean sheet because for some reason they keep conceding goals. Malacia played. Looked pretty good, although in midweek was not, which is kind of what spiraled United's downfall in midweek. Not solely on Malacia, I'm not saying that. But a lot of things started to go wrong after we made substitutions, which were kind of forced, but just a bit unfortunate there. But nonetheless, kept himself a clean sheet. Was probably going to play every game now as well. Leon Bailey, I don't remember him getting a return. No, he didn't get a return, which is unfortunate. As our midfield differential pick. And then Martial did get himself a goal. So that was a good pick. So 3 out of 5 on the differentials. A pretty average week points-wise. Not for total, like, a correct prediction. So we write these down in our little notebook here. Yeah, we like to get at least 3 out of 5 on the differential picks and clean sheet picks in around like 8 points or so on average. to slightly below it. Hopefully we can correct that this coming week. So, let's just maneuver this. We can move the tweet out of the way. And we'll bring up the notepad, because here are the scores for this week. I was wondering, I was like, why is Aston Villa Newcastle the first game? And I was like, that's this week. Had the wrong thing up. So, Aston Villa v Newcastle. So, I've gone with a 1-0 in favor of Newcastle, and I think the game's going to be pretty close. Ollie Watkins' form has been tremendous since Unai Emery's come in. I think he's only blanked in 2 games since Emery's come in. In every other game, he's gotten a goal or an assist. And I think that Aston Villa have been playing super, super well. They've been keeping a tight defense. I just think Newcastle just barely nicks it. I think this is one of those games where Newcastle can grind out. And they see United with a lot of defensive weaknesses. With their injuries, as well as Rashford being out. They'll see that Spurs are kind of floundering all over the place. Got a really lucky win versus Brighton. They know that they need to go and put out a statement, win this game against a Villa team that have been doing quite well. I think Villa have they have the third most points in the league since Emery signed or something crazy like that. So I think this is where Newcastle gets it, and I think they keep a clean sheet as well, keeping Villa out. It'll be a very close game, though. Very close game. I wouldn't shock me at all if Villa won 1-0 or Newcastle won 1-0. It's that close, I think. Chelsea-Brighton, a game I don't think that's going to be close. Brighton should go to Stamford Bridge and absolutely smack Chelsea, because they're probably going to rotate, which means if you have Brighton players, I would suggest playing them. Especially if you know that they're going to start, like the likes of McAllister, Solly Marches, Mitomas, Estupinians, Lewis Dunks, Jason Steels. These sorts of players, you probably should expect them to play, and I think that Brighton are going to do what they did to Spurs, just like worse to Chelsea. And because Chelsea, based on the table, clearly are not as good as Spurs at the moment, although there's not really much in it, to be perfectly honest. But I think Brighton will win 2-0. Chelsea have been struggling to score goals. Lampard doesn't really know how to set up a defense, and I think that Brighton are one of the most, if not the most informed team in kind of Europe at the moment. So, in terms of the way they play, and what they do on the ball. Everton Fulham, this one was a bit of a tricky one. I did end up going with a 1-1 though. I think Fulham will still nick a goal even without Mitrovic. I don't know, kind of looking back on it. Excuse me. Maybe I should have gone with 1-0 Everton, considering Marco Silva's remarks of, hey, look, we kind of don't really know how to play without Mitrovic. But I've kind of gone with a 1-1. I just couldn't really decide either way. Southampton and Crystal Palace. Going with a 2-0 in favor of Palace. Again, flying. I don't expect them to score 5 versus Southampton, although it is possible. Southampton in the past have conceded more, so I'm just going to go with a very comfortable Palace 2-0 win. They've been looking pretty good. Although they were always going to look better under these set of fixtures, because when Patrick Vieira was managing them, it was on their set of fixtures where they were doing okay in my mind, and then he was always going to make them play better in these fixtures, but they were just impatient, which they may have jumped the gun a bit too early, basically. Spurs v Bournemouth. I've gone with a 2-1. I expect Bournemouth to score, because I don't think Spurs' defense is all that good. Kane will probably get something in this game. Has a decent record versus Bournemouth from what I remember. And I think Spurs definitely need to win this game, because it is their easier fixture, like the easiest fixture on paper in theory, or one, if not one of, home versus a championship team. Spurs have to win, and I think they will. So I'm going 2-1. I've gone with 2-1 the other way. Brentford versus Wolves, the last of the 3 p.m. UK time kickoffs. I just feel like Brentford just have a little bit more in them. Tony's playing so well. They've been pretty solid defensively. Their midfield is when they're at full gear, like top gear, they can just press the life out of you and cause real havoc. Especially winning like the second ball high up the pitch. Wolves will kind of want to sit back a little bit as well and kind of play on the counter. So it's going to be an interesting dynamic. I think Brentford do get the win, though. Man City versus Leicester. I mean, this could be any score, to be honest. This could be 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, 5-0, 6-0, 7-0, 8-0, 9-0, 10-0. Leicester could get absolutely hammered in this game. City are playing so well at the moment. Like, tossed Bayern aside in 12 minutes like it was nothing. Leicester defensively are just not good at all. Dean Smith is, in my opinion, not the answer that they need. Coaching-wise, he's going to try to set them up defensively, but I don't know. I just don't see how it really works out. This will probably be a game where James Maddison scores because everyone's probably looking to sell him or Rashford or both this week. So it could be a bit of an interesting one. So we'll have to wait and see. But I've gone with City 3-0. On to the Sunday game. So Arsenal would have seen a Manchester City's result versus Leicester, which is most likely going to be a win. Tough away day versus West Ham. West Ham are not necessarily the easiest team to play against in the world. David Moyes, you know what he's going to get. Very defensive. But I did go with a pretty comfortable Arsenal win, 3-0, all being said, because they pretty much have everyone back, barring William Saliba. Iwa says, yo, how's it going? We're doing the stream a little bit earlier, so some people are probably confused. This is like, why is Pilot streaming so early? A little bit extra time today, so I'm able to do it. We were just going through the last of the predictions here. And then we'll go on to what transfer I may have made, because you see up in the corner up there, transfers this week, 1 of 1. I have made a transfer, and I made it very early too. So yeah, Forest versus Man United. I've gone with Man United 3-1. I think United's attack was very good versus Sevilla. Then making changes caused a bit of a problem, but our starting 11 is definitely very, very capable of beating Forest. If Luke Shaw is back, Luke Shaw will play at centre back alongside Victor Lindelof. Or maybe Harry Maguire and Lindelof play together and Luke Shaw plays at left back. I think it's better that Luke Shaw plays at left side at centre back than playing Maguire, personally. Wan-Bissaka or Dalot could play. We'll have our best midfield possible. We'll have a very good front line barring Rashford. So I think everything is perfectly fine there. I see United having no issues personally, or they shouldn't do. So we'll have to see how that pans out. But I gave Forest a goal just because they always seem to score at home, to be honest. Chilwell, Rashford to Salah and Stones for -8. We'll have to start Reece James and Chilwell if you don't do the transfers. It depends on like the whole team, to be honest. Depends on the whole team. And it depends on what chips you have left too, because that's kind of a huge thing as well. So if you post it in the chat, just post it in the chat. You're like your whole team. You're free hitting 32. Okay, that helps. Yeah, put the whole team and say how much money you have in the bank, and then we can kind of, I'll bring it up on screen here, because I like doing these sorts of things for other people's teams as well, and be like, okay, what can you possibly do? And we'll just get this one last prediction out of the way. Leeds and Liverpool. I predict 3-1. Leeds conceded 5 to Palace, so Liverpool can definitely score that many. Hopefully Salah redeems himself. Clean sheet and differential picks. I've gone with nobody for a clean sheet, apparently. Let's go with Crystal Palace as a differential. Jordan Pickford to hopefully, potentially, maybe get a clean sheet versus Fulham, although I predicted 1-1, so kind of hedged my bets there. Lewis Dunk, 5.3%, very cheap. You wouldn't think to play him versus Chelsea, but I think it's probably pretty good to do so. Riyad Mahrez, the forgotten man, tends to do well versus Leicester, formerly of Leicester. I think he could do quite well. And then Odsonne Edouard versus Southampton away could be in a good vein of form, and it might be nice to have a nice little cheap attacker. I believe Palace have a double game week coming up soon as well. Let me see. Do they have a double game coming up soon? No, they don't. They just have a bunch of really good fixtures, and he's a cheap forward, just the 5 million. So yeah, quite good there. So yeah, we'll post that a little bit later. But for now, we're gonna bring up Iowa's team here. So he's got 5.6 million in the bank. Let me move this tweet out of the way. Not the tweet, the notepad. There we go. So he has Kepa and Steele. So Steele goes in. He's got James, Chilwell, Shaw, Bomb, and Trippier. Okay, so Bomb and Trippier, that stays. Okay, so he's got Shaw. He's got Reece James. He's got Trippier. Oh, I already have Trippier. He's got Chilwell. Who's his midfield? He's got Bruno, Rashford, March, Matoma, Grealish. So instead of Salah, basically, he's got Solly March. Up front, he's got Watkins, Ings, and Holland. Okay, so Ings. And you said you have 5.6 million in the bank. So mine says 5.5, so pretty close. And you said... So, I assume the transfer... Excuse me. That you already made was to get Grealish in this week for, like, Madison or somebody like that. That's what I assume your transfer was. Yeah, okay. I figured as much. So, I mean, there is an option to just do... Can you do Rashford to Salah straight up? That's what I would ask. Because on current values, you could. Or do you have to sell a defender to fund Salah? Can you not just do Rashford straight to Salah? If you wanted to. Missing a little. Okay, so that's out of the question. You want to keep Watkins, you want to keep Holland, you just brought in Grealish. March, Matoma going nowhere. Steele's fine. Shaw's going to be back soon. Tripper, Botman's fine. How much is Stones? Stones 5.4. Okay, so you could sell one of Reece James or Chilwell, basically. You could pick either or. You could sell either Chelsea defender. Yeah, okay. That makes sense to me. Okay. So I'll ask you this, right? So let's say I'm just gonna go hypothetically, these are your transfers. Let's say you get rid of you do get rid of Chilwell, you bring in Stones, Salah's in, cool, fine. We're okay. That's game week 31. Game week 32, you say you're free hitting. Then game week 33. You know, whatever. Let's just say you don't make a transfer. Game week 34 comes around. Let's say you manage to roll. Game week 34 comes around. You got a double game week. Rashford's back. Rashford's fit, ready to go. He played, let's say, I don't know. Let's say he played like some minutes in 33, came on, scored, whatever. Rashford's back, Shaw's back. Obviously, Lisandro Martinez will be out, but as we know. But United looking good. What do you do? That's what I would say. Would it be get rid of Bruno? Bruno to Rashford if Bruno's been playing deep? That's an option. I would say that's your only option, really. Unless Grealish just randomly becomes out of favor. In which case, you could do something like... you could just do Grealish to Rashford. You'd have 0.3, and then you could go like get another Man City defender. Botman to United defender, yeah. You could do Botman to Malacia because the likelihood is one or both of Malacia and Shaw are going to play. Yeah, I think that's not bad either. If you wanted to take a punt, I mean, Martial 6'3", you can go from Ings to Martial. Ings doesn't have the greatest double, but he does have a double. You can go from Watkins to Martial in 34 when they have the double. And if you know Martial has like, hey, look, Martial's fit. He's been training. He's fine. He's wrapped up in cotton wool. He's not injured. Bang, you can go from Watkins to Martial. But that will require an additional thing. So if this was, who was this? This was Grealish, right? So could you do, so if you did Fernandez to, yeah, you could do Fernandez to Rashford, and then you could do Watkins to Martial if you wanted to. And then you could play your 5 in midfield, your Haaland and Martial. Yes, you would have Ings on the bench as your double game weaker. I mean, you could do a bunch of different things, I think. So I think, I mean, you're going to keep Salah for the rest of the season for sure. You do have a nice way to get Rashford back, whether it is with or without Bruno Fernandes, but it does stem on the fact that you need to roll your transfer in 33. And that's also assuming that everything else is fine, like John Stones isn't re-injured, Grealish isn't out of favor, you know, that sort of thing. Do Brighton have a double game week? Yeah, they do. So you can just play Steel. Yeah, I mean, that kind of makes sense to me, I think. I think that -8 is perfectly fine, because you would have to start James and Chilwell, who are likely to concede versus Brighton. So you have to basically think, who gets more points? Salah and John Stones -8 points, or Chilwell and Reece James at neutral. I think at best Reece James. I think Reece James and Chilwell at max get 4 points total. So you have to think: does John Stones and Salah get 12 points? Because 4 plus the -8. Because I think Brighton score, and I don't think Chilwell and James. I think Reece James might not even play. Chilwell should play because he's not available. So, but we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, 12 points between them with the -8. Salah needs it basically what? Stones to keep a clean sheet versus Leicester, and Salah with a return, and you've already broken that in the first game week, but you're going to have them for more than that, so I think it's fine. Eventually, if I roll in 30, Grealish to Rashford and Ings to Alvarez. Yeah, I like Alvarez too. I think Alvarez is going to get more minutes in the Premier League as well, especially if City continue on in the Champions League like the way they're doing. So that makes sense. That is potentially a good thing as well. Who to sell, James or Chilwell? I think for this week, Chilwell's more likely to play just because he's suspended in the Champions League, right? Like, it would be really, really foolish of Lampard to not play Ben Chilwell this week. He plays like Cucurella or somebody like that. They get injured, and then he has no left wing back or no left back at all come the Champions League. So I think Chilwell's more likely to play. And he was talking about like rotation and this and that. I think he's kind of forced to play Chilwell because of the fact that, hey, look, he's suspended. So it doesn't make sense to play him. It doesn't make sense not to play him, basically. But Lampard could literally play anyone, to be honest. So Just gonna change something here. Oops. There we go. Sorry, one of my windows messed up. Right. So, this is my team currently as it stands. We got De Gea in goal. We got Trippier, Botman, Estupinian. We've got Grealish in there now. Grealish in there. We brought him in over Madison. That was kind of like my planned transfer. I knew Rashford was going to be out, but we have plenty of cover on the bench. I'm half tempted to play Ferguson if I knew he was going to start. But I think Rico Henry might be the one that I go to. Then we got Bruno Fernandes. We got Salah with the vice captaincy. We got Matoma, Watkins, and Erling Haaland. So I think my team's pretty much straightforward. I can kind of hang on to Rashford. I'm free hitting next week. I can just hang on to him. I think the amount of value, what kind of value do I have tied up in him? I don't have any value tied up in him, so that would make sense. I could get rid of him for free. I thought I had value in Rashford. Maybe I don't. I have a lot of value in Matoma, that's for sure. So yeah, I could get rid of Rashford for a -4, but it would just kind of be for a bit of a fling, as it were. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one. Maybe I go for it, maybe I don't. Maybe I go for a different United attacker or something like that. I don't know. Or maybe I just kind of keep Rashford. Don't really take the -4. Just let Rico Henry or Ferguson or Ben Mee or whoever I want play. They're going to get me points. Because basically the attacker that I have to bring in. Let's say I played Rico Henry. Let's go into the assumption that Rico Henry doesn't keep a clean sheet. He gets 2 points. Basically, whoever I brought in has to get at least 6 points to break even. So Iowa says, what about KDB? I think KDB is against teams that play a back 3. KDB often doesn't play. So if we look at City's fixtures coming up, so they play Leicester this week, who play a back 4, or should play a back 4. Normally they do. Should be fine. Arsenal play a back 4, that's fine. In the double game week, however, West Ham play a back 3 at times when they play against the tougher teams. Fulham do not. So KDB might miss out on that one. Leeds and Everton don't. Chelsea do, but De Bruyne always plays versus Chelsea randomly. Brentford, Brighton. Brentford will play a back 3, so KDB might not play. But yeah, that's the only time I've ever seen KDB be rotated on a consistent basis when... is when KDB plays versus a back 3. I don't know why, because you would think KDB would be good versus a back 3. Dark Soccer 516 says, "Are you planning on bringing in Ederson for De Gea soon?" I didn't plan on it, but if I was gonna take out a goalkeeper, wouldn't be De Gea, it would be Kepa. But no, I don't think I'll be going for Ederson. I'll go for like John Stones or some Man City defender instead. I would say selling Chilwell, good luck. Yep. I think that's he's slightly more expensive. Doug says Maguire is back, so De Gea will concede goals. That's true, but that also means that De Gea will make more saves, hopefully. In theory, yeah. But I like John Stones better than just Ederson. I mean, I can get 3 Man City players that way anyway. Shaw coming back injured. How well is he going to play? Malacia, sometimes he'll play at left back. Sometimes he won't play at all because Shaw will play left back or Shaw will play left side at center back. I think we know the two most consistent United or the three most consistent United players are De Gea if you want a defender of some kind. And then attackers, midfielders and attackers is Rashford and Bruno Fernandes when they're fit. So, Stones for which one of my defenders? Well, let me actually just bring up a different window here. Here we go. So this is FPL.team. This is my team, and we can kind of go through what I've done. So I've done Maddison to Grealish so far. Maddison to Grealish. Rashford's out injured, so I'll just put Rico Henry in just because he's injured. Haaland would be the captain. Salah vice captain, I guess. 32, that's a free hit week. We don't need to worry about that. Gameweek 33, I would play Evan Ferguson, who's most likely going to play versus a weaker opposition. Probably Haaland captain. Rashford would play maybe instead of Grealish. Or Ferguson if I got the hint. And he was back. I don't think he is going to be back for Spurs, but if he is, then we play him. And then 34, Rashford plays instead of Watkins. I would just get rid of Ben Mee, probably. Ben Mee, because he's just the most and probably the least, likely for me to actually want to play him. And then if I wanted to, I could also... I could change things up with my Brighton players. So if I didn't want Evan Ferguson, and like Martial was fit or something like that, maybe I could get rid of Bruno. I assume Grealish is probably still going to be in the team. So if I wanted to go for like a -4 or something, I can get rid of Evan Ferguson, bring in Martial if it's going to be the United player for me. Solly March would be the midfielder. I could do something like that if I feel that they're going to be fit. Or I can get rid of Grealish. I could bring in Solly March. And instead of Ferguson, I could actually bring in Julian Alvarez, who I think could potentially get some more minutes there as well. So that could be something that we go for. And that would just be for a -4, which I'm perfectly happy with doing as well. So, but we'll have to wait and see. But if Evan Ferguson's just playing well, scoring goals, then yeah, could be quite good. Did he play versus Wolves and United the last time? So he wasn't playing at all, basically, when they played Wolves. When did we play them? He hadn't even signed for the club yet, so yeah. I have a free transfer and want to use it because I'm on a free hit. Luckily, I jumped on Grealish last week. So yeah, I mean, you can look for Grealish this week. You can go Rashford to Salah if you have enough funds to do it. If you want to go for Solly March versus McAllister, you can do that. Just kind of do the sideways move there. You can get ahead on the Man City, on like John Stones or a Man City defender if you wanted to. You can do the De Gea to Ederson move if you want. Those are all perfectly reasonable moves. But yeah, everyone's setting up for the Gameweek 32. For the teams that do blank in 32, because we need to pay attention to that as well. Brighton, Chelsea, Man United, Man City. Rashford could be back for Sevilla, apparently, on Thursday, which is very interesting because it looked like he was going to be out for a bit. Varane's not going to be back. He's going to be out for a few weeks, apparently. Lissandro Martinez is out for the season, although it's going to be not much further past the end of the season, which means he'll make a full recovery and be back perfectly fine for preseason and all that sort of stuff. So that's a plus for United. Although Lissandro Martinez and Varane playing out from the back is very important for Ten Hag, and it could be a big miss. But with a proper midfield in front of them now, in front of Maguire, it could mask up some of his deficiencies. Maguire has played a little bit better recently, I would say. Still not nowhere near the level of what you would want as a offensive-minded center back. But yeah. I was wondering when a good week to triple captain. I'm on bench boost in 34. Well, if you're bench boosting 34, I think the only other week is triple captain in triple captain will probably be in 37, I think. I think that's the only other time probably to use it. Maybe 36 on a Newcastle player potentially, if the double pans out that way. Yeah, because you want to obviously use it on a double. So if you're bench boosting 34, then fine. 35 is a single game week, so probably not ideal. 36, it's Newcastle and Brighton double, so that's possibly where you could use it there if you wanted to go real left field-ish. Maybe on a Brighton player in 37, maybe on a City player in Gameweek 37, maybe on a United player because they play Bournemouth in 37 is a possibility. Or you could just throw it, roll of the dice, last game of the season on a Man United player, Fulham at home, Salah, Southampton away, something like that. Could be where you use it, to be honest. Yeah. That's the only way I could see it panning out. Because there's not really anything. Let's see, 33, there's nothing really good there. 34, you're bench boosting. 35. Maybe if you know Haaland's going to play versus Leeds at home, is probably a good shout, I would say. But I think they have the first leg of the Champions League semi-final playing that following week as well, if I remember correctly. I'm actually going to double check that. So Leeds would be May 7th. So the Champions League. Yeah, so the Champions League would be a couple days later. Yeah, so that would be City play on the. When do they play Leeds? They play Leeds on the Sunday, so that their game will be on the Wednesday, most likely. Assuming they go on to beat Bayern in the second leg, so maybe that's a route for Haaland, but again, probably not likely. 36. Brighton and Newcastle doubles. So again, pick your pick there. Brighton at home, Leeds away for Newcastle. Newcastle away, Arsenal away if you want to go there. 37, like I said, is a bit be a kind of one good fixture, one bad fixture for everyone. So it's kind of take your pick there. And then 38's just whatever. So could be anything, really. No problem. No problem. We like to help. But yeah, I think this is gonna be the team. Again, I'm not really sure who I'm gonna play for Rashford. I'm half tempted to just kind of put Ferguson in there, but Welbeck does offer a lot pressing wise, so maybe he doesn't play. I know Rico Henry's definitely going to play. Good chance for a clean sheet considering Wolves don't score very many goals. So maybe I put him in there and just kind of go for it that way. But yeah, everything else is pretty much straightforward. So, De Gea in goal, Trippier, Botman, Estupiñán, Grealish, Rashford, who will be probably replaced by Rico Henry unless he makes a miracle recovery. Bruno Fernandes, Salah, Mitoma, Watkins, and Haaland. Captaincy this week is very interesting. Haaland at home to Leicester, Kane at home to Bournemouth, Salah away to Leeds. I think you just go with Haaland. Leicester are down the very bottom. Not 20th, but they are in the bottom 3. Haaland can score 5 goals in 5 minutes, I'm convinced. So Leicester are just not good at the moment. So could be a bit of an interesting one. Actually, one thing I did want to let me just I just want to kind of experiment with something here. So I wanted to see if I could if I did happen to get rid of Marcus Rashford for somebody. So let's say we did Madison out to Grealish, which is what we did. And then we took Rashford out and we went like a punt. Like, I'll just use a punt as an example. It's like Mahrez. Mahrez is obviously a massive punt. Cool, fine, whatever. For -4. Don't play Henry, which means the player, Mahrez, basically has to get, if Henry keeps a clean sheet and gets no bonus points, that means Mahrez has got to get 10 points this week if we want to clear it up. Between now and 20 and now and 33. So I think that's where it's probably not worth it. Then we would have to hold him for Arsenal, which... Does Mahrez play versus Arsenal? Maybe. We'll see. Our 3 City would be in place, but we would want Rashford. And we would only have 2 Brighton, so kind of complicate things. So I think looking at that, we kind of want to keep Rashford. So I think I'm just going to leave him in there because we do have available coverage on the bench as well. So yeah, I think that's going to do it. Let's move over to the big screen. Thank you all for watching this week's Deadline-ish stream. I'm going to post the VOD a little bit later this evening. You'll be able to check that out. And yeah, thank you all for watching. Make sure to like, favorite, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Have a good Game Week 31, everyone. And until the next one, take care.